All right, so we're diving into BrowserUtils today. It looks like you've sent in a ton of notes about this. Trying to figure out just what it's all about, huh?
Well, you can think of it this way. Imagine constantly working with a website, testing it, automating stuff.
Right.
You're going to end up doing the same things over and over and over. Find this button, grab that text.
Yeah, I can see that getting old fast.
Exactly. So that's where BrowserUtils comes in. It's basically like a collection of tools, pre-built, ready to handle those common web things, so you don't have to write the same code a million times.
Oh, okay. So instead of reinventing the wheel every time you need to do something,
yeah, exactly.
you've got this set of functions just ready to go.
Yeah, and it's not just about saving time. It also helps you write cleaner code.
Gotcha. So let's take a look inside this toolbox then. One of the methods here is find first element by text.
Okay, so picture this. You're trying to interact with a button on a page, to test it or something. So instead of writing a ton of code just to find that button, you can just tell find first element by text, like what the button actually says, like add to cart or, submit, and it'll find it for you.
Oh, wow. So it's like a search function, but specifically for buttons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you've found it, you can tell it to click or do whatever else you need it to do.
That's cool. Now, what about getting the text from different parts of a page? I'm seeing this one here. Get text from elements. What's that one do?
So think of a situation where you need to maybe collect all the different options from a drop-down list or grab all the headings from like a news article. Get text from elements basically grabs the text from all those different elements on a page.
Ah, so you could quickly get a list of like all the countries in a drop-down or like you said, all the headlines on a news website.
Yep. And then you can use that information to, to make sure the right stuff is there or to compare it to something else you're expecting.
Okay, so we've got find first element by text to help us with the buttons, get text from elements for grabbing text. What about if you only want to work with elements that the user can actually see? I see we've got get visible elements. How does that one work?
Well, sometimes you might have elements on a page that are like hidden. Maybe they're behind a pop-up or something, or they only show up when you scroll down. Now, if you're trying to do something with an element that the user can't actually see,
that's going to cause problems.
Exactly. So get visible elements, it filters all that stuff out. It gives you a list of only the elements that are actually like visible on the screen.
So it's a way to make sure you're not trying to do something impossible.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing a bit of a pattern here. It seems like a lot of these methods are working with lists of elements, not just like one at a time.
You're right. And that's because, a lot of times in the real world, you're not just dealing with one button or one piece of text. You might have a bunch of buttons or a whole drop-down list to work with, a whole group of things.
So BrowserUtils is designed to help us work with these kinds of realistic scenarios.
Yeah.
Where there are multiple elements involved.
Exactly. And it makes it much easier to manage all that.
Gotcha. What else have we got in this toolbox?
Well, let's move on to some methods that actually help you interact with these elements. Clicking on buttons, selecting options, that sort of thing.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's keep this deep dive going.
Oh, you've got your elements. Now what? Well, click all enabled elements is a real time saver, especially for those repetitive actions.
Click all enabled elements sounds kind of powerful.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little dangerous. When would you actually use that?
Think about those multi-step forms you see online. The kind where you have to click next, like 5 times to get through it.
Yeah, those are annoying.
Instead of writing separate code for each one of those clicks, you can use click enable elements and just bam, handle the whole sequence.
Ah, so it just finds all the buttons that are ready to go and clicks them one after another.
Yeah, exactly. Now this next one's interesting. It's called a switch to window.
Okay, switch to window. This is probably for dealing with those pop-up windows, right?
You got it. Imagine you're testing a website and it opens up a separate window for, I don't know, a user agreement or something, or like a payment portal.
Okay.
Now you need to be able to like shift your focus over to that new window so you can interact with it.
So instead of being stuck in the original window, switch to window lets you hop over to that pop-up.
Exactly. You just tell which window to target and it handles the switch for you. No problem.
So it's like having a remote control for your browser windows.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And speaking of windows, we've also got this handy method called close I'll accept current window.
Oh, this sounds like the cleanup crew.
Exactly. Let's say your automation opens up like a bunch of new windows, and then at the end, you just want to close everything down except for that main one you started with.
Right.
Close accept current window takes care of that for you.
So it's like a more precise version of just closing all your tabs.
Oh.
Okay, so we can switch between windows, we can close them down. What about those drop-down menus? What does BrowserUtils do for those?
Oh, we've got some good stuff for those too. So let's say you're working with a drop-down list of countries. You can use select option from list by its visible text to pick the one you want, like Canada or Brazil or whatever.
Okay, so you just tell it the name of the country and it'll find it in the list and select it.
Yeah, that's it. Now, select option from list by index is a little bit different. This one uses the position of the option in the list, like the first one, the second one.
Right.
So if you know you want, let's say, the third option, you would give it the index 2. Because remember, in programming, we usually start counting from 0.
Okay, so select option from list by its visible text is good when you know exactly what you're looking for. And then select option from list by index is handy if you know where it is in the list.
Exactly. BrowserUtils tries to give you the right tool for the job no matter what the situation is. Okay, now, how about we move on to some methods that help you verify what's happening on the page?
What kind of methods do we have for that? So we've talked about, finding elements, interacting with them, even switching between windows. But how do we actually know that everything is working the way it's supposed to? I mean, what's the point of clicking a button if you don't even know if it, did anything?
Exactly. Verification is super important. And BrowserUtils has some good methods for that, like IceText presents any element, for example.
Okay, so that one, I'm guessing, checks to see if a specific piece of text shows up somewhere on the page.
Yep, that's it. Let's say you're testing, a registration form.
Okay.
And you want to be absolutely sure that after someone submits it, that the right message appears.
Right.
You could use IceText present any element to see if the text registration successful is showing up anywhere.
So it's like a way to confirm that the action you took actually had the right result.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what about checkboxes? Those can be tricky sometimes. There's a method called Arial checkboxes selected. I bet you can guess what that one does.
I'm going to guess that it's for when you have a bunch of boxes that need to be checked, and it just makes sure that they all are.
You got it. Like, let's say you have a form with a bunch of terms and conditions. Before someone can move on, they have to agree to all the terms by checking all those boxes.
Right.
Arial checkboxes selected lets you quickly verify that all those boxes are checked. Makes it easy.
Very cool. So we've talked about clicking all the enabled elements on a page, but what if you just want to click one specific button within a group of buttons?
Good question. That's what click first button with text is for. Let's say you've got a page with, a submit button, a cancel button, a save draft button. You just want to hit submit.
Right. You don't want to just click the first button you find. Could be the wrong one.
Exactly. So you tell click first button with text to find the one that says submit, and it'll click it for you. No problem.
Okay, cool. I think we've got time for one more method here. This one is called find elements with text containing. This sounds interesting.
Yeah, so this one's all about flexibility. Imagine you're looking for elements that contain a certain word, but you don't need an exact match.
Yeah.
Like you're looking for product descriptions that mention, I don't know, organic or fair trade, but there could be other words in the description too.
Right. Okay.
Find elements with text containing lets you basically do a broader search. You give it a keyword like organic, and it'll find any element that contains that word, no matter what else is in there.
So it's like a search engine, but just for that specific web page.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that's really what BrowserUtils is all about, isn't it? It gives you these tools that let you interact with web pages in a more efficient and intuitive way.
Definitely. I think we've really demystified this whole BrowserUtils thing today. It's not just a random collection of functions. It's really a well-designed set of tools that make working with web pages a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, we've only just scratched the surface here. There's a whole lot more to explore with BrowserUtils.
So if you're ready to take your web automation to the next level, grab your code editor and give it a try.